All right, good evening, everyone. How are we doing tonight? Colds? Thank you, Steve, for saying good. Someone heard me. Thank you, I appreciate that. So good evening, everyone. My name is Riyad Shah. I am the President and CEO of the MetroWest Chamber of Commerce. And thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you, thank you. I like the energy. We need some energy here. I appreciate that. It's great, I love it. So again, we're here for the 2025 MetroWest Chamber Legislative Reception, and we're really excited with the list of speakers that we have here tonight who represent all of your areas, and you're excited to hear what they have to say. I'm excited to hear what they have to say. I just want to start off by saying a few words here of acknowledgement. Happy Black History Month. See, some more excitement, I love it. And I'd like to thank our presenting sponsor, Fidelity Bank. We have a set of team members here in the crowd tonight, so thank you all for your sponsorship. And additionally, our supporting sponsor who couldn't be here tonight due to coming up with the illness, Phil Ottaviani for City Council. And with that being said, you guys aren't here to listen to me talk anymore. We did have some last minute cancellations of some of the representatives. They might be showing up late. They got tied up with some things. They had all intention of being here, so they send their condolences, apologies of not being here right now. They may walk in, so if you see them kind of trickle in, say hi, point to them, make sure they no, I'm just kidding. So without any further ado, I'd like to welcome to the podium Senate President Karen Spilka.
We should give him another round of applause. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me and all of my great legislative delegation to speak here tonight. I'd like to also thank Brian Grossman and my colleagues and members of the board. I see of the directors here of the chamber. Representative Linsky, Representative Lewis, Donahue, Sousa, and there may be more, as he said, coming. We are blessed with a terrific MetroWest delegation in both the House and Senate. We work well together, and we work to keep in touch with all of you, to know what your needs are, and try to incorporate that as much as we possibly can when bills come up and things are happening. And I want to thank each one of you, members of the chamber. I have been to countless events from the chamber. In fact, my husband was head of the chamber in the 90s, and I remember some of the events going to him with that, and going through some hard times at times with economic recessions or issues, but the chamber has remained strong, and I want to thank Riyad and the board and others who commit so much time in building this chamber, building your businesses. I know it's not easy, dedicating countless of hours and your energy to this region, to your business. So I want to thank you, and I know the commitment that takes, and I know that the chamber is here to support you, so I thank you for that. And that's why, as Senate President, I'm proud to be able to work with my colleagues to direct state resources into investments that matter to this region. When in government and the business community work together, the partnership that is shared, I believe, really helps pave the way for success, and that's borne true here in the MetroWest. This past session, we passed a really comprehensive, huge economic development bill that included everything from investments in our life sciences, which our region really benefits from, to brick and mortar stores, to revitalizing our main streets and downtowns, even allowing craft beer sales in farmers markets, a personal favorite of mine, yes. We have many craft breweries here in MetroWest. And I have to mention our historic tax relief package that we did last session, which is injecting more life and resources into every business of every size. Our budget is enabling access to businesses like never before, like free fare access to our MetroWest RTA and to RTAs around the state to move people to get to the stores, to get to the hospitals, the doctor's appointments, their families when they need to and want to. These investments, as we all know, are much more than numbers. They reflect a strong and connected and prosperous commitment in MetroWest, in our communities. They reflect our values of what is important to us. And for that, I thank all of you. I look out and I know I've spoken to many of you in getting feedback as to what is important to you to help MetroWest grow, stay strong, and continue to thrive. So looking ahead, we will remain committed, working with all of you, committed to advocating for policies that foster the MetroWest and the strength of our growth, our innovation. I believe we are the heart of the state, to be honest with you. You know, I know sometimes the Central Mass folks say that's more the heart. I believe MetroWest is the heart, and we keep our state economic engine humming. We keep our state economic engine humming. So for that, we are eternally grateful to all of you for doing that. So keep in touch with all of us. Let us know. And working through the chamber, you have great representatives here, what more we can be doing for fostering economic growth and innovation and helping your businesses and ensuring long-term regional success. MetroWest is not only thriving today, but I have to say it's very well positioned for lasting success in the years ahead. So thank you. And again, this is the direct result of your efforts, your work, and your commitment, each and every one of you. So thank you for your unwavering commitment to our community and your willingness to continue to give back. That is not only noticed, but it is deeply appreciated, and thank you for what you do for our entire extended community. Have a great night. I apologize. I have actually a meeting after this. I think it's my last meeting of the night, but nevertheless, so I just want to thank you all for listening and wishing you all, it's still somewhat early in the year, so I wish you all a very happy and very, very healthy 2025. Thank you.
Oh, James, it's good to see you sneak in here, James Arena DeRosa. Good evening, everybody. For those of you who maybe don't know me, my name is David Linsky, and I have been a member of the Massachusetts House of Representatives now for 26 years, representing, as everybody knows, the greatest town and the greatest state and the greatest country in the history of the universe, Natick, Massachusetts. I'm glad that Karen actually mentioned the fact that she considers MetroWest to be the center of the state, because I'm going to teach you something right now. This is a little known fact, that the population center of Massachusetts, that means if you put all of the 7 million people on a balancing board and found the center of where that is actually in Natick, about a mile from here. There's a plaque that designates it. It is adjacent to the practice football field next to Doug Pond and Natick High School, in case anyone. So it truly is the center of Massachusetts, in addition to being the greatest place in the world, Natick, Massachusetts. In case you didn't know, I grew up in Natick. And I'm a proud graduate of Natick Public Schools and Natick High School. And I want to just talk a little bit about the role of being a state legislature, but then I'm going to work it into something that I'm going to give you an assignment, and it's called civic engagement. So people, have kind of a misunderstanding about what the role of a state legislator is, in my view. And they think that it's all like the fame and glory that we all get, voting on bills, passing budgets, things like that. But there's really three jobs of a state legislator. The first is that part. It's doing the legislative work, the committee work, the passing the bills, the state budget, all of that. The second part is making sure that the communities or the cities and towns that we each represent, in my case, Natick and Wayland, formerly Sherburne and Millis, but now Natick and Wayland, get their fair share, or as I like to say, more than their fair share of state funds and state projects and state grants and all of that. Bringing home the bacon. You notice the bacon that was going around here during that's what we do. And the third part is kind of the least understood but most important part, and that's the constituent service part. And I didn't know anything about it when I first got elected as a state representative. But let me tell you, we get calls every single day about somebody who's having trouble getting an unemployment check or health care for somebody in their family, or social services, or the electricity goes out, right, Ryan Earl? And we help them. We honestly do. And I'll tell you, when I'm in the supermarket and somebody comes up to me and says, I just want to thank you for what you or your office did for my family, that's the most important thing we do. And I can tell you now, in my 26 years as a member of the House, my office has now helped over 10,000 families in my district on that type of thing, and that's really the most important thing that we do. But let me just lead into something else, and I'm going to turn it over to some of my colleagues, because the last thing you want to do is hear me talk. This is an important time in our nation's history right now. It really is. And there's a lot going on in Washington. We might like it, we might hate it, but there's a lot going on. And it's never been more important for community leaders, and I'm looking at around this room right now, and there's a lot of community leaders in this room, to be engaged and to show some civic responsibility. And when I say civic responsibility, it means to get engaged, to know about the issues, and if you see something that you like, or if you see something that you don't like, to speak out about it. This is not a time for the meek and the mild, quite frankly. This is a time when we need some real leadership. Obviously Washington gets 99% of the attention. But the reality is that what state government does and what local government does has a whole lot more direct effect on your life than what Congress or the President of the United States is ever going to have. Because local government decides whether or not your kids have a good school to go to, whether your trash gets picked up, whether your snow gets plowed, whether or not the potholes gets filled. And state government decides whether or not there's good health care in your state, whether there's good social services in your state, whether those who may need a little boost get the services and the support they need. And that's what keeps all of us going. It really is. That's really what keeps all of us going. Because I ascribe to a philosophy, and some of you will understand what this is. My own philosophy is something called tikkun olam. And tikkun olam means, it's a Hebrew phrase that means to heal the world. I believe honestly that each one of us, and this really goes for people here who are business people and community leaders like I'm talking with right now, each one of us has a moral obligation to try to make this world a little better place on a daily basis. For some people, for those of us in elective office, it might be through public policy. For others, it might be through volunteer work or charity work or trying to build a business and employ some people, give some people some jobs, or maybe it's to build some housing. It's all important stuff. But what we can't do is let others go out and do the work. We all have an obligation. And I implore you to get involved, to to be aware of what's going on with your government and most importantly in your community. And if you see something that's wrong, speak out. But if you see something good, speak out as well. I'm going to turn it over to my good friend Jack Lewis from Framingham right now. And this is my preacher, but he's the real preacher. So anyways, Jack.
It's hard to follow that. I know many of you. My name's Jack Lewis. I'm one of the state reps for Framingham. I also represent Ashland. And I think the Senate President said it best, where while I represent 44,000 people in one part of MetroWest, and my colleagues represent a different group of 44,000 folks, we all do work together. And I think nothing says that more than you all, as folks who are involved in local business. You live in one part of MetroWest, you might run a business in another part of MetroWest, and you have a sister partner in another part of MetroWest. And so while you all technically only have one state rep and one state senator, in reality, because you hire people that live across MetroWest, you run companies and businesses across MetroWest, you can call on us, all of us, in ways that a lot of other folks can't. And I know many of you already do that. Those who don't, please reach out, get to know us. I've been in the legislature a few less years than Representative Linsky. Just started my 5th term, so I'm in my 9th year. Before this, I ran a nonprofit for LGBT teens, and then before that was a Unitarian minister in Wellesley Hills. And so a little different work, but more overlaps than I think most people realize. One thing I wanted to talk about, and I promised a couple of you I'd keep it short. Rep. Linsky talked about what we do as legislators. I think constituent services takes up so much more of our time than I ever imagined, especially during the pandemic. 90% of our days was spent helping folks connect with unemployment benefits. Connecting in the community is a big part of it too. And while the legislative part, us actually going into Boston and voting, doesn't occupy as many hours as maybe the title might imply, I also know that there's a narrative that I'm just going to reflect on for a second, that we in Massachusetts don't actually do very much on the legislative front. And I just want to assure you that while there may be fewer bills passed this last session than years prior, the bills that are passed are thicker and denser than bills ever passed before. And a lot of what we do doesn't ever make it into the paper. I can write the nicest social media post about a bill that's going to help thousands of kids with Down syndrome, and that social media post might be liked by 10 people and picked up by 0 newspapers. But it doesn't mean that those bills aren't touching people's lives. And the reality is, most of the work we do isn't the big headlines that you hear. At the state level, we're talking about some different things than we hear out of Washington. We work with our Republican colleagues and they across the aisle in a way that we don't see in DC. But I just want to, in the last 2 years, in addition to constituent services, showing up at community events, a glimpse into some of the bills we've passed that never made it in to the paper, that touch all of you as folks who work for companies, work for nonprofits, who care about the people that work for you, but also because you care about the people that you also serve. Rep. Linsky has taken the lead on gun safety for his 26 years in the legislature. This last year, we passed one of the most robust gun safety bills in the country. And while that might not seem like it has a direct connection back to business, there are folks who continue to live in Massachusetts and who are moving to Massachusetts because what we offer on everything from health insurance to gun safety is different than what they have access to in other parts of the country. We passed one of the most robust bills to protect seniors in rest homes, making sure that folks are protected, folks have that support, making sure folks who have worked their whole lives paying taxes and are finding themselves struggling on the other end of life have that support and love that we hope we'll get when we're at that place as well. That one didn't make any headlines either. We passed some bills supporting veterans, the HEROES Act, a huge piece of legislation that further invests in veterans, folks who have sacrificed so much for the country, and those who they've left behind as well. We took up a bill permitting the governor to leverage the rainy day fund. Not be something you think about every morning when you wake up, but we have a robust rainy day fund of over $8 billion last I looked. It might be 9 or 10 now, that is there because we know that there are uncertain days ahead. We're now, because of this legislation we passed, we're able to leverage interest on that rainy day fund to compete for federal dollars, assuming that there are federal dollars to still compete for, but we're gonna sidestep that for a second. The Senate President mentioned the economic development bill. There are bills contained within there that we're still starting to talk about because there are so many. One of the things I've worked on for the last 8 years is creating a more formal mechanism for physicians trained abroad who now find themselves living here to be able to get licensure to be doctors in our community hospitals. Folks that were leading physicians in Damascus and are now asylum seekers here who want to do what they love. They want to serve the community as physicians, and some of whom are driving Ubers and taxis, which is a fine profession. But if you've devoted 30 years of your life to being a neurosurgeon, and now you're in a place where you can't do that, we've created a mechanism. And that's by working with folks like area hospitals, identifying what those needs are, and helping to connect our immigrant community to help meet those needs. This new session is only getting started. I can't tell you what it's gonna look like. I can tell you that there are a lot of question marks about what the state budget's going to look like, given the financial uncertainties out of DC. But we are not going to give up on who we are as a Commonwealth. We are not going to forget our values. And when it comes to the budget, I am confident there are going to be difficult decisions that have to be made. Programs that the feds have have covered for decades might not be things that we're going to be able to fund. And that scares me. But that's where I think we're going to need all of you to be participants in these conversations, because we're going to have to make difficult choices, and we're going to have to do that in a way that makes sure that we support industry and businesses. We continue to attract and retain families that help keep our Commonwealth afloat, while also meeting the needs of the most vulnerable amongst us, potentially in the midst of a federal government less keen on serving any purpose whatsoever, it seems. But I digress. The evening is young. I'm going to turn things over to, oh my gosh, you all three came in at the same time. So how do I do this? Eeny, meeny? Okay. I'm going to turn things over to Kate Donahue. Kate.
I always need to lower the microphone. This is an easy way to do it. I'm Kate Donahue. I'm in my second term as a state rep. The communities I represent include Westboro, Northboro, Southboro, and a very nice neighborhood in Framingham. I've got a constituent here. I've been listening to the people talking, and the Senate President talked about Central Mass versus MetroWest. In Westboro, I can claim Central Mass and MetroWest, so no matter where it is, we're the center of the Commonwealth. As I've been listening to people today and throughout my whole time in the State House, one of the things that has struck me is how 200 voices from 200 different backgrounds come together to make our law. All of us have a unique background. My background is largely in the private sector, here in MetroWest. From 1982 to 2009, I worked for a company based here in Framingham at the time, until they were acquired by a national company. And so I know what it's like to be part of a small business. I was vice president. I was the first female vice president of this company. And I saw the challenges firsthand facing businesses. And I bring that experience to the State House. I also have a personal story, which some of you know. I lost my son, my only child, to an overdose. And it's not fighting the opioid epidemic is not necessarily my highest priority, but is where my voice is probably strongest. I've done some work in that area. As I was looking here, presenting to this group, I looked at some of the legislation that I filed. One piece of legislation that I filed was brought to me by a national business safety organization. Close to 10% of workplace deaths come from overdoses, which is kind of astonishing when you think about it. So one of the pieces of legislation that I have filed calls for training of not, you work on what you can control. This piece of legislation that I filed at the urging of a national workplace safety organization would call for state agencies and boards to train people on the use of Narcan and to have Narcan at public places. Additionally, this bill calls for guidance for private industry on the same thing, training your employees on the use of Narcan and having Narcan in the workplaces. So I tell you that because it is something that relates to what you are doing as businesses. Getting back to some of the other things that people have talked about, constituent services. I urge all of you and your employees, if you need help, come to us. We can help. It's one of the most gratifying parts of our job, as the other legislators have mentioned, to be able to help people. I will say, it gets a little frustrating. Why does it take a call to a legislator to get your unemployment? Why does it take a call to a legislator to get your RMV issue resolved? We can help. We're working on, as I've talked about, it's an interesting job. You work on things at a macro level to address systemic issues, but at the same time, we're working with individual issues. At this point, I'll close, and Rep. Sousa wants to go last, and I'm dying to hear Rep. Irina DeRosa's story about commuting on commuter rail. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks. All right, I will do this. I will use the thing. Well, first of all, thank you all. I'm delighted to be with you. It's great to be here. Thank you for all that you do. Hey, Stephen Roach. I'm sorry I missed cocktail hour. I could use one after my 3-hour adventure on the train. I won't tell you the whole story, but we're going to test Philip Eng's sincerity when some of us have met with him. Anytime you have an issue or a problem, please call us. Please contact me. So we'll see how that goes tomorrow. But the interesting thing for me, and so I'm James Irina DeRosa. I represent Holliston, Hopkinton, Millicent, Sherburne in the legislature. Just got elected in 22, going into my second term. But my background at Oxfam and Peace Corps and USDA was always about listening to people at the community level, that they have better solutions. Let's make sure they're involved when we're forming public policy. And so I won't tell you the whole story what happened on the train, but the train behind us broke down. We're almost to Framingham. Train broke down in Boston. They didn't want to leave people in the cold. I completely understand that part. But I'm looking at the schedules. They send us back into Boston. And I'm like, why aren't they taking the train that's in Boston that's leaving just behind us? It got there at the same time we did. It gummed up the system for 3 hours. The interesting thing for me is I'm talking to the conductor and the engineers. They thought the same thing. So somebody in Boston is not listening to the people that are driving the trains and are running the system. It's typical of sometimes of what happens. So in any event, but it relates to what I wanted, the one thing I want to share with you, because I really appreciate the words of the legislators that you've heard. But one thing, I was on small business last year on the Small Business Committee. And I held roundtables in my communities to listen to the business community. And one of the consistent themes that I heard is that it's sometimes a big challenge to work with the state, whether it's finding out about contracts or licensing or how to get grants or resources. They have to go to 10 different places. Well, I was with the governor at an event for the Associated Industries of Massachusetts last week, and they're going to be rolling out this new business front door. You'll hear a lot about it in the coming months. I actually met with the person who's going to run it. She's going to come to my office, and we're going to meet. And I'm sure your reps and Senator Spilka will share this as well, although I'm happy to give information to anybody as I learn more. But what it's going to do, it's going to consolidate a lot of these services that people need. And, I know in a chamber, there's all different sizes. There are some huge corporations. They may have whole divisions that work with government. That's great. But some of the smaller business, typically it falls on one person to kind of wear many, many hats, and they don't always have time and energy. And it's can be very frustrating for some of them. So hopefully this is going to help, but there's two things I like about it. One is I like just the idea that they want to listen and they're going to put this together and hopefully be responsive to the community. But the person who's running the system, I've talked with her a little bit, she wants it to be an iterative process. They're going to get some experience around it, but then they want to listen to the business community. How is it working? Can we make it even better? So that's a piece that I hopefully am going to work with her, with the businesses in my communities in the years ahead. So it'll be interesting to see how it works. I know we have tremendous challenges ahead, especially with what's going on around the world and nationally. But I am honored to serve my communities and look forward to working with all of you in the years ahead. Thank you very much. And last but not least, Priscilla Sousa.
Thank you so much. I know I joked around that I was just waiting to go last so I could just go like ditto and drop the mic. Work smarter, not harder. But I wanted to share a little story if the room would indulge me. I know you've heard all of us tonight. It took me a minute to understand why this room felt familiar when I walked in here tonight, and I've come here for events before. First time I actually walked into this room, I was 7 years old, and it was still the Crown Plaza. That should tell you how old I am. But my dad was a dishwasher. Here, it was his third job, and he would work in different places. And whenever there were functions here, which was, the Crown Plaza was the happening place to be. It's where the fancy people had their weddings. But whenever there was an event, probably a lot like this, my dad would be washing dishes. And it would be his extra shift that would get, extra money. My parents were immigrants. We had just come here from Brazil. And they were doing their best to build a life. So what would happen is it would usually be Friday or Saturday night, and he would be here somewhere in the back till the wee hours of the morning washing dishes. So my mom would sneak in here with me to sneak back into the kitchen to wash the dishes with him, because that way he could get done faster and we could get a few more hours of sleep before he had to wake up the next morning and go off to his next job. My parents would line up 3 chairs along that wall right there, put a jacket over me, and I would just nap while they did that. So that's my experience of the first time I walked into this room. I share that because I know with so many entrepreneurs in this room, there are stories like that. If we asked each and every one of you, stories of where you had to give up vacations, where you had to miss bedtimes, where you had to miss time with your kids and make extraordinary sacrifices to get where you are today, to continue building the lives that you're building for the community, for your family, for your employees. So if I could can we have a round of applause for yourselves and the warriors that are here in this room today? And we get calls from your employees, from you all the time. Definitely are getting a lot of calls right now. I know so much of our workforce and many amongst us and our family and our friends and our loved ones are struck by the anxiety. I'm going to call out the elephant in the room, the anxiety around the immigration crisis. There's a tremendous amount of uncertainty about what's going to happen. And I can tell you that I understand that apprehension. I feel it. It hits home. It really hits home. We were undocumented once. But I say that because knowing that, I think I can speak from all of us when I say we consider it our mission to make the opportunities for the dishwashers who are working back here or anybody else to become entrepreneurs and be the people sitting in this room. The same way that my parents did, the same way that so many of you did. And I consider it a personal mission to work towards that, to create the pipelines for that to happen. And while I can't really eliminate the struggles of the hustle, everybody here who owns a business knows. We can partner wherever possible, and my colleagues have been amazing at showing us the ways that we can pay attention to the things that that we can influence and we can help, and the constituent services, but whether it's economic development, educational incentives, apprentice opportunities, connection building tools, emphasis on representation, constituent services, which does take a tremendous amount of our time, and commitments to infrastructure, we are here with you. And if there's nothing else, may the message be left here that we are your partners, we are here with you, and we are always available. And go Flyers. But thank you all so much. Is it tradition now? And now I turn it over to Riacha.
All right, can we just have another round of applause for all the legislators? Thank you so much. Definitely doesn't go unnoticed, all the work that constituent services takes of your day. I definitely see you all out and about, and when I hear and talk to some of our members, some of the constituents, they say they see you out and about, and they're working with you tirelessly. So thank you very much. Before we kind of jump into a little bit of a Q&A, there's a few things I definitely want to just let you know. One is, please drop your name badges off on the table on your way out. Thank you very much. We hate to find those in the laundry after going through the laundry and then your jacket's ruined or your pants are ruined. So please drop them off on your way out. I would really appreciate it. And second of all is I would like to give a little taste of the Taste of Metro West. So because all of you are here tonight and tonight only, don't go sharing this because I have a list and I'll know if you share this information. But for tonight, for the next week and a half, 2 weeks, we are putting a Legislative Reception 2025 discount for tickets to the Taste of Metro West. So for the next 2 weeks, if you're here in this room and you want to get your ticket at a discounted price to the Taste of Metro West, please go on, register, Eventbrite. It is live as of tonight. You can go on there. Again, Legislative Reception 2025. Get those tickets. I hope to see you there. And now we're going to take some Q&A from the crowd for some of the legislators if you do have some questions for them. And I'll walk to you so you don't have to yell, and I'll bring the microphone to you.
Thank you. I will open it up. I'm Eileen Davis, proud member of the Chamber Board, to the legislative branch here. In my other job, because the Chamber's so demanding, I run Mass 211. We're an information and referral network. We are getting inundated with calls that are we're trying to respond. We connect people to health and human resources throughout the Commonwealth, from North Adams to Nantucket, but obviously Metro West is the center of the universe. When resources are every day closing, have limited hours, where our staff and agents don't really know where to send people, often our default is to call your local legislator, let them know how you feel, let them know what you feel strongly about. Is that an appropriate place? Like, are your constituent services staff equipped? Do they know what to do? Can our mental health service help them answer calls? Like, how can we collaborate to help the constituents in your area know where to turn, what to do? You know, we don't want to make your staffs overburdened and overtaxed. How do we work together to help people know where to turn in these, obviously, as Priscilla said, you know, all of you said, you know, super challenging times?
So if I understood correctly, it's whether or not our staff is equipped to handle some of these challenges. I think one of the things that none of us touched upon, and I think I'm going to say it's because my colleagues are incredibly humble, is in addition to our wonderful staffs, we have a wealth of community connections by just being around, by being present in our communities. I think everybody here, if you ask us which community is the best, we'll say our own, except for Kate, well, she'll say like 5. So we make an effort to be present and to build those connections. And what we cannot accomplish through our connections in the State House with the administration, we can do with our connections in the community. Unfortunately, we don't have superhero capes, and regardless of what I thought when I first got elected to this job, but there is so much that we can do. Reaching out to us, I don't think is ever a bad thing. We may not be able to help directly, but we may be able to point in the right direction just by knowing our community and our community partners so well. Hope that answers your question.
Come right through here.
Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Hill. I'm a chiropractor in Weston, but I'm actually going to ask more a question regarding what's happening in Weston. They're planning to redo Route 30 that goes out to Wayland, so it touches some of your communities. And a lot of people I know in my town are upset because it's going across their driveways, but there's an aqueduct that goes down. There are a lot of people suggesting that we can put a bike path. I don't know if it's possible to put a bike path on top of the aqueduct, and if that's something that all of you could maybe help with. Also, 3A, which is a very touchy subject, and I think throughout the Commonwealth, one of the things I found really surprising is that you're not allowed to build any of the housing on state land. Why would that be?
Peter, I'll try to help you. I'm not really familiar with the Route 30 and Weston project. How far along is that one? Do we know? All right. Well, there's got to be public hearings on that. I will reach out to Alice Peisch, who has Weston. I don't think that project is scheduled to go into my district in Wayland, but if it is, then I get something to do with it. Well, then I just learned something right here. And I'll look into it. And what 3A were you referring to? Because that down on the second part of your question there. Oh, are we talking the MBTA? Yes. So I'm sure that people here are familiar with the MBTA Communities Act. Thanks, Jack. Remember, the basic thing that you need to keep in mind about the MBTA Communities Act is that towns have to zone it to take in a certain number of houses within a certain area close to the MBTA. They don't have to build them, okay? It's a zoning act only, okay? And the answer about why the state land, because state land isn't subject to local zoning, if you think about it that way, okay? So that that's a whole separate thing. This is a zoning act only. It's not a building act, it's a zoning act. And I think that there's a lot of fears out there about the MBTA Communities Act, about, they're gonna build 10,000 units of, low-income housing, subsidized housing, whatever, all the stuff that gets out there. This is purely a zoning, and it's aspirational. Okay, it's aspirational. And I think that there is, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would doubt that there is a person in this room, and there's about 100 people in this room, who would say that we don't have enough housing in Massachusetts. I mean, that's the reality. We need more housing. The reason that housing prices are so high is it's a supply and demand issue. And we've got to do whatever it takes to make housing available and affordable for people to actually want to continue to live in the greatest state in the country. So that's my piece. I hope that answers your question, and I promise I'll look into the Route 30 issue. Thanks.
Down here in the back.
Hi, I'm Andy. I work with women entrepreneurs, and I would like to know more about how I can direct them to local and state services to help, budding entrepreneurs? Like, I know the Chamber of Commerce does a lot of work, but navigating state and local websites is kind of a nightmare to try to find these resources. So what can I do to direct clients, friends, family who are who are looking for resources, basically?
So what you just articulated is exactly what the problem has been throughout the state, right? When entrepreneurs, small businesses want to access state resources, it's a challenge, it's a problem. I don't know if this is going to be a magic solution, but at least it's a beginning. And one of the things, and where are you from? You didn't mention where you're from. So I have my own business. What town though? I meant. Okay, Natick. So I mean, I'm happy to share information, but David, of course, can work with you. No. We always do that if you're from another town. It's just protocol. They taught me that. But I'm hopeful that this is at least going to be a beginning. But more important, as any of you get experience around it, please share it with your legislators so we can get it back to the governor's office. I mean, I'm going to have sessions in my towns so that after people get some experience with the website, they can say, well, this works, but this doesn't. What about this? Because then it can be even better. But you articulated a problem that we're trying to solve.
Go here first and then in the back.
Hi, my name is Doug Collins, and I'm a proud new owner of a business in Framingham and the Natick line for mental health. Spent 45 or 35 years in the high-tech software space and decided to do something completely different. My wife and I opened our first outpatient mental health clinic on 111 Speen Street. My question to you guys is, we've committed to open 3 additional facilities in the MetroWest area. So we're pretty excited about bringing these kind of services to the community. But how do we best serve the community, and how can you help us make sure that people are aware that these services are available? We have no wait list, we're open, but we're still kind of the best kept secret in town. So Riyadh's been really good trying to help us spread the word. But can I count on you guys by contacting you to help be one of those partners or those kind of places where you can get the word out to folks? Because we think it's a pretty valuable service that, and we've got 7 clinicians on staff, and we're open, and we're very excited about establishing ourselves in the community in MetroWest.
I'm seeing a resounding shaking of the head yes up front.
Hello, Mary Kate Feeney from Framingham. Thank you all for speaking, and great shout out to my representative, Kate Donahue. But most of you have touched upon the current climate and what is going on, and how can we in our communities help support our immigrant community when people are scared, there's high anxiety, it affects our businesses, it affects our communities. What can we do as business owners and community members to support our neighbors during this time?
Thank you so much. Told you guys I was the elephant in the room. First of all, to the gentleman, I didn't catch your name, who opened up the mental health practice. Thank you so much. I think what we hear all the time is there's a shortage of resources still in the mental health crisis and what we're facing after the pandemic. So having professionals, having partners in our community, I think I can speak for all of us when I said we are always thankful and looking for opportunities to partner. To the question, there's a tremendous amount of anxiety. I heard from a local business owner in my district who said that sales were down by about 30% this week, from one week to the next alone because of the apprehension people aren't going home. So as surely as we are standing here, the anxiety is going to start affecting us, and it's going to snowball. And whether it's the handful of collateral arrests that have been happening, and I'm gonna, if it's okay with this room, I'm gonna speak very, very openly. I think we're all grown-ups. I think we can handle it. Nobody here is really making any excuses or any protections for dangerous criminal behavior. What I think the concern in our community is the the collateral arrests. I spoke to a few accountants in my district who say that it is tremendous. We have people who are contributing tens of thousands of dollars, making upwards of $10 million a year, paying taxable income on all of this. But when you look under their social, it says tax ID number, which indicates that more often than not, they're undocumented and they're paying into our economy. They're paying into a system that they're never going to pay out of. And on top of all of that, they are now afraid that should they be in the wrong place at the wrong time, they are going to end up in a very, very scary situation. And that is going to start affecting our businesses, that's starting to affect our school districts. So how do we support them? Unfortunately, there's a lot we don't know. There's information coming, this is all kind of happening, quote unquote, above our pay grade in DC, and we don't know what we don't know. But what we can do is help our neighbors be prepared. I'm happy to work one-on-one. Over the past couple of months, 2 weeks, I've been working with local business owners on helping them be prepared for this. Even helpful information like making sure that anybody you interact with who happens to fall outside of status knows how to spell their name. Spell their name in English. Make sure that everybody has in their cell phone number the information for an immigration defense attorney. These simple things, in the event of an undesirable, situation, could be the difference between them rejoining their family within a couple of days, or them putting their entire livelihoods and their entire lives. And I think that's the biggest concern. So I'm happy to kind of, in a different forum, help any business owner that wants to have that conversation, how to make sure that they're prepared. And I think that if we're all taking steps together to prepare ourselves, to prepare each other, it will eliminate a lot of the anxiety around all of us, and allow us to continue functioning, to take care of each other and taking care of our local economy. Thank you.
So I just wanted to add something about farmers markets, because something has happened through the budget that is jeopardizing members. I sit on the board of the Massachusetts Farmers Market Association, and the change in the HIP program. We're really hoping to see a resolution that the money was cut. There's discussion of maybe a budget for the SUP that comes out tomorrow. We're trying to work with all these other organizations to push for passage of that, and then in the regular budget crisis as well, to try to get that funding back up. HIP is a program that allows people basically to have money they can spend, but only at a farmer's market. And the concern is that with everything else going on, a lack of funding not only will affect the consumer, but also the farmers markets, which have worked really hard to come back from COVID, getting people back out to the markets. So I'll just throw that out. Hopefully that's something you should have been contacted on already by farmers in your area.
Let me not put my back to the room here so I can see if there's any more hands. Okay, I used to work in a school, so you got to give like that extra long pause just to make sure that there's not that one extra kid that's like, oh, wait, me. So thank you all for your insight to the Metro West and what's going on in the region and the impacts. And again, just thank you all for your services and your commitment to the Commonwealth and to our area in the Metro West. So can we just thank them one more time, please? And I want to go back to what somebody said about this room being full of a lot of people full of grit, and getting out there and getting connected, and not just the folks sitting down here in the front row, but all of you takes what we have the Metro West to be that heart, right? That balancing act, that really strong flagship community in the Commonwealth. Takes all of you to be out here, to be present, to keep promoting your business, to connect, to find those resources, to hear about resources, and to remember about Doug's location, right? So that the next time somebody does ask you for mental health services, you know that Doug has no wait list right now. which probably won't stay that long. So definitely get connected with Doug. But it also shows that like I've only been here at the chamber for under 5 months, and I'm going through here, and I could almost tell everybody's first, almost last name that's sitting in this room. So it's really a testament to the membership here at the chamber in the MetroWest, how active you are and continue to be to help us continue to help you and provide for our community. So I just want to thank you all for your commitment to the chamber and being active members. And we do have the room for a few more minutes, so feel free to mingle, network, hang out, exchange cards. Again, please, please, please leave those name tag badges. And again, Taste of MetroWest Legislative Reception 2025. Thank you all so much.